Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, the US calls for beefed-up UN sanctions against Sudan's warring parties, including third countries and actors providing military or financial support to its war. Also, across Africa, Muslim communities begin celebrating this week the annual festival of Mawlid, marking the Prophet Muhammad's birthday. But in the northern Ethiopian region of Tigray, festivities there are cancelled because of the ongoing threat of drone strikes. And in Kenya, a recent gold rush in the village of Cheporor sends thousands rushing to the area for a piece of the prize. But the village is now struggling to accommodate all of the new arrivals. So the US wants the United Nations to beef up sanctions against combatants in Sudan's ongoing civil war. The RSF paramilitary and the army have been battling for control of the country since 2023 at a cost of up to an estimated 400,000 lives, although the exact figures are difficult to establish in the grind and obfuscation of war. Laurent Berstecker has more.
More than 3 years into Sudan's civil war, U.S. envoy Massad Boulos on Monday urged the UN Security Council to extend the Darfur arms embargo to the rest of the country to prevent the conflict from spreading.
As numerous external actors are providing a tremendous and increasing amount of military support to both warring parties, the United States has put forward a strong resolution that provides for 4 key things. 1, expanding the arms embargo across the entire territory of Sudan.
Other elements of the U.S. draft resolution include a countrywide ban on the use of drones, increasing the amount of observers and experts on the field, and implementing asset freezes for certain actors taking part in the conflict. But the central proposal remains the arms embargo, which would allow the UN to sanction countries providing military or financial support to the warring parties. This could affect the likes of the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia, which have repeatedly been accused of involvement in the war. Sudan's UN envoy, meanwhile, appeared to oppose the resolution, claiming any sanctions could end up impeding the army's ability to protect civilian populations.
No country suffers more from the illegal proliferation of arms than Sudan. But widening these sanctions would only weaken the protection of civilians.
The U.S. proposal is also likely to face some resistance by permanent members of the Security Council, for instance, Russia, a longtime ally and supporter of General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan.
Now, this week's tense tussle for the upper hand between Zambia's government, the judiciary, and the opposition leader who lost out in recent elections continued on Tuesday. The cabinet released a statement saying that President Hakainde Hichilema would be sworn in for a second term on the 1st of September. This despite the runner-up in the polls, Brian Mundibile, are alleging fraud. Now, his camp promised to file a legal challenge to the election result, but couldn't do so on Monday, which was the last day to do so because Zambia shut its entire court system down for unspecified security reasons. Now, although the cabinet says that no papers were submitted by Mundibile in time, the Chief Justice says that he did receive them, albeit through the unorthodox means of his private email address. Now, he said that he's referred those to the Constitutional Court for consideration. It's still not clear whether they can or will affect Hichilema's inauguration plans. Across Africa, Muslim communities have been celebrating the annual religious festival of Mawlid, in which the faithful mark the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad. Now, it's a public holiday in many places, and in Tunisia, Tunis's old city was filled with crowds watching musicians and dancers on Tuesday. In Somalia, worshippers took advantage of improved security in the capital, Mogadishu, to also gather outside to celebrate together. Organisers say that this year's event has been larger than it has been for a while. But in the northern Ethiopian region of Tigray, festivities had to be cancelled at the last minute because of the threat of drone strikes, as tensions continue to escalate between local TPLF fighters and government troops. Our Tom Kinetti brings us more from Addis Ababa.
This Muslim festivity is known in Ethiopia for its public celebrations and feasts that take place usually in the streets. But the Islamic Affairs Council announced on Monday that that would not be the case this year, and these celebrations could only take place at night and in mosques over fears of drone attacks. This only comes a few days after the Ashenda festival, a major celebration in Ethiopia centered around women and girls, was also cancelled in the northern region of Ethiopia. Usually the main party would have taken place in Mekelle Stadium, but that was called off at the last minute. France 24 has confirmed that drone attacks occurred in Tigray on Tuesday and Monday, and also on the 20th of August, that one wounding 13 people. On Monday, the African Union Special Envoy travelled to the Tigray region for the second time this year to try to mediate peace, but seemingly to no avail. The United States has also travelled to Tigray earlier this year to try to organise some sort of peace deal between the Addis Ababa government and Mekelle, but also unsuccessfully. What we have seen come out as a development this week, though, is the TPLF has set out conditions of what it would take to get them to the negotiating table with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government. And some of those conditions include the lifting of what it calls an economic blockade by the Ethiopian government on Tigray and the return of internally displaced people.
Tom Kinetti there for us. Meanwhile, Ethiopia has formally submitted its bid to host the Africa Cup of Nations in 2028. The country last hosted AFCON in 1976. FIFA ranks Ethiopia's team 143rd out of 211, and it was eliminated in the group stages in the 2022 edition of the tournament. The last AFCON was hosted by Morocco earlier this year. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, the Ebola outbreak continues, with at least 5,514 cases recorded and 2,462 deaths among them. With fears that the virus will reach the capital, Kinshasa, authorities have begun stepping up patrols along the Congo River. Our team reports.
We have an Ebola outbreak.
The battle against Ebola is well and truly underway at the port of Bende Bende on the outskirts of Kinshasa. Here, some barges arrive from areas affected by the outbreak. After travelling downriver for several weeks, they're intercepted and brought to port for inspection.
The first boat, that white one there, is a patrol boat from the Ministry of Transport. It's used to monitor the various boats from a distance and order them to dock at Bende Bende for checks.
All the passengers disembark. One by one, they proceed past Congolese health officials. Thousands of travellers pass through this port every day. Inside this tent, the staff are trying to trace the journeys the travellers have made and to identify whether any of them are showing symptoms of Ebola.
Anyone, if we detect there's fever, we keep them and hand them over to the medical team for treatment.
If a passenger has a fever, they will be tested for Ebola and the boat placed in quarantine. So far, no cases have been detected in Kinshasa, but the Congolese capital is on high alert. Cases recorded in the city of Kisangani, which is 1,700 kilometers upriver from Kinshasa, have raised fears that the virus could spread via trade and transport along the Congo River.
We've been on alert since the incident 2 weeks ago, which involved a boat that travelled from Kisangani to Kinshasa. Fortunately, there were no cases on board, but we decided that it was time to put in place more rigorous surveillance.
The epidemic is expanding quickly. In just 3 months, it's gone from affecting one province to 6 provinces. There's no vaccine or treatment available for the strain of Ebola virus that's spreading. Surveillance remains one of the first lines of defence.
And finally, in Kenya, a recent gold discovery in Cheporor village sent thousands of prospectors rushing in. But the remote village is struggling to accommodate all of the new arrivals. Take a look.
Cheporor used to be a quiet rural village perched in the western Kenyan mountains. But that was before traces of gold were discovered in the nearby river, sending thousands of people pouring into the once peaceful community in an attempt to grab their share.
I was looking for one of my goats that ran away when I came across some women who were panning for gold in the river. That's how I discovered there was gold in the area.
Earlier this month, nearly 10,000 people converged on Cheporor in the span of a few days. Amateur gold diggers and prospectors, but also traders and businessmen hailing from Uganda and other neighboring countries, hoping to cash in on the discovery. Small stalls have since mushroomed around the village to meet the growing needs of the new arrivals, yet the influx poses a major security challenge in an area lacking basic housing infrastructure and largely devoid of police presence.
We're in the middle of the forest. We don't have clean water to drink or even to bathe. The biggest challenge, especially for women in the evening or at night, is to find somewhere to stay.
After the initial frenzy, the gold rush has since slowed down. Only small quantities of the precious metal have so far been found, leading thousands of people to pack up and leave the village in recent days.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us, though, and do so again if you can. Till then, take care.